Welcome to Comrade Media's cultural program in Pursuit of Roots. Today, we are going to have the 25th episode. That is the intoxicating festivities of Sangham era. Sir, ever since the immemorial past, the festivities were always accompanied by liquor or a kind of intoxication. From Sangham era, you mentioned about it last episode.
Yes.
And you offered to give more details of liquor consumption along with the festivities.
Yeah, sure.
What are the occasions celebrated with intoxicating liquor?
Sangham era is characterized by festivities. Different kinds of festivals and festivities marked the Sangham era. Life was very colorful, jovial, and bubbly, with a lot of fun and frolic all around. So that was Sangham era's speciality. Festivals, for the sake of festivals, were there. Festivals specially earmarked for celebrating with some drinks, intoxicating substance have been there. And you're right, there were festivals. I can list, you want me to list the festivals?
Occasions.
Occasions, yeah. As we know, marriage has always been a wonderful occasion to celebrate. When they celebrate, now it can just be food, and some marriages, the food is accompanied by liquor consumption, not in open manner, but in a very secret manner. But in Sangham era, during Sangham era, drinking was not a taboo.
In those days.
Therefore, people used to, men and women, would drink, celebrate, dance, accompanied by music. So marriages were so colorful, so exotic, and invariably upper rung of the society, when people get married, liquor certainly was used. So marriages happened to be one occasion, common occasion then and now. Now it is limited use of liquor. Then almost every major marriage was celebration time with liquor.
So in olden times it was openly done, not furtive.
It was openly done.
Not furtive like that.
Sangham literature gives an impression that it was not done in a clandestine manner. It was done in a very open manner. But it was done in a responsible manner also. No major instances of drunken behavior or hooliganism, which I have never come across any such write-up in Sangham literature. There have been, invariably there would have been some drunken behavior, but not a common occurrence then. So that is, marriage is one thing. Then Vizhava is the festival. Vizhava is the common name used for any festival for that matter. Vizhava or Vizhava. Vizhava, otherwise Vizhava, just say Vizhava. Atta, Pata, Koot, Vizhava. Atam is dance, Koot also is a form of dance, and Pata is music. Songs and music with a lot of drum beats and Mirava. All these percussion musical instruments, yare, para, all musical instruments come into the picture in Vizhava occasions, accompanied by drinking party. So that is the Vizhava. Any festival, it can be related to harvest, It can be related to special occasion. It can be related to the coronation, the anniversary of the coronation of the Kuttuvan king,
King,
or
okay.
Naduvari, or world, that is Vidam. Yet another festivity was Kondatam.
Kondatam is a curry. Pavaka Kondatam.
Now, yes, Vendaka Kondatam, Pavaka Kondatam is a curry. Now, Kondatam originally was a festival.
Okay.
The unique festival of the Cheras and Cholas and Pandyas during Sankamira. They were relying predominantly for the finance, for prosperity and for the growth of exchequer. They were relying, Cheran, Pandyan and Cholan
Yes.
were relying predominantly on foreign remittances. And also the trade, especially the Roman trade of the first 3 centuries of CE, brought a lot of money. Roman ships, Arab ships, Mesopotamian ships from the Mediterranean region come, buy, purchase goods, mainly spices stored in the godowns, and give gold coins in exchange of things. That's money, gold, Roman gold coins as cash. Take the goods back. So Maharaja, the Kuttuvan, is the flush with funds. He distributes the riches among the people, among common men, among nobility, among aristocracy, among traders. Kuttuvan is lavishly distributing wealth. Along with the distribution of wealth, as soon as the Roman ships leave, say October last week, November, December, the ships leave using favorable ocean currents and the winds, trade winds. When they blow northwestern monsoon, that will be the time when the ships leave. When they leave, again festival time, because no dearth of money. So plenty of liquor consumed in party, and that particular kind of party is called Virava. No, that Virava is called Kondatam. That is Virava, of course. That Virava is called, any party is Virava. That particular Virava is called Kondatam.
So only for jubilant occasion, liquor was used.
Not only for jubilant occasion, even before war.
War also.
And after the victory in war, that is jubilation. But before the war, there is no scope for jubilation. It is just to energize them.
An excitement.
Adrenaline needs to be pumped in, and they should be feeling high. The fighters, the warriors, they are mostly mercenaries, cobbled up just before war. We were dealing with war on another occasion, and that was a time when Undat is celebrated. Unda means Unnaga means feast, and Atam is dance. Feasting and dancing and celebration always before war. It is exclusively for the warriors, the fighters, soldiers. That is Undat. We dealt with that Undat part when we dealt with war. Okay. Undat is also another festive occasion, and all such occasions were very, 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 intoxicating substance. Drinks, mostly hot drinks, consumed in high quantity. And Kuttuvan enjoyed, even Uthiyan Cheraladan is popularly known as Perinchottudiyan.
Perinchottu means
rice. Big bowls of rice, lavishly distributed, and parties given to soldiers. So they remember their beloved king Kuttuvan, Chera Emperor Kuttuvan, and call them Perinchottudiyan. That means he encouraged people to eat and drink and to make merry.
Already mentioned that.
That is
the liquors available here, were they native made?
Both. indigenously made during Sanghamira right here in this land, and also varieties of liquor exported from outside.
Outside, okay.
During the first 3 centuries of Common Era, imports came exclusively from Rome. Romans imported in liquor in strange vessels we call amphora.
Amphora means the jar
kind of thing.
Oh.
In which either oil or liquid, any liquid, oil or cooking oil, various kinds of beer, various kinds of wine also brought. Very colorful jars, porcelain, China pottery, porcelain, also earthenware, terracotta. For common purpose, it is terracotta jar. For refined purposes, for high quality wine, it would be invariably brought in decorated amphora. Tens of thousands of pieces of amphora actually recovered from major port centers of the exteriors like Muziris and Tindis and Bokhara. That is confirmation that these are Roman jars called amphora, and wine was actually brought in these jars.
What about
that is the proof.
Native items?
Native items, see those items
distilled or tapped from coconut?
Tapping is the indigenous distilleries. Roman wine predominantly came out of the distilleries. It can be kinds of rum, equivalent of rum or whiskey or brandy or even ordinary wine. Sometimes it comes from, ordinary wine comes from vineyards. Grapes were not available here in Chera or Pandya or Chola land.
At that time.
Grapes invariably had to come from outside. They bring in the form of wine, grape wine. And barley or millet or corn or wheat based extracts distilled and brought in the form of hard liquor. Known in different names those days, were all brought in amphora by the Romans in their ships when they come here. And they get back with spices. They bring these amphoras and they trade it here.
In exchange.
In exchange, yeah, of course. One of the major items brought here was liquor.
Okay.
One of the major items, not only that, they brought several other items also, mirrors and precious metals, other things, all that. But here you were asking about the indigenous local items. Local item, everybody's drink was Theral. Theral is actually not distilled, it is tapped.
Tapped from coconut tree.
Coconut tree, palm tree, and similar kinds of trees were tapped. Like what they are doing to produce arak and toddy. Toddy tapping. Toddy is something which, of course, the foreigner may not understand the term toddy. What is arak and toddy? They may not understand. They just call it liquor. But we know what is in Kerala, in India, we know what is toddy. Toddy tapping. The same kind of tapping took place those days. That was called Theral.
Including all these things. Including
all these things. And Narava is another kind of liquor similar to Theral. Similar to Theral, almost the same process, but the processing is slightly different from that of Theral making. And Panankalla. Kalla is toddy. Pana is the palm tree. It was there. But better distilled things were also there. That was called Narumpiri. Apart from the tapped toddy varieties, Narumpiri is a very exotic variety. Actually distilled. The base material is rice.
Rice.
Nelle.
Nelle.
With the rice, with its covering, the husk and everything, processed and distilled in a particular way, a very elaborate process to make Narumpidi. Narumpidi was exotic thing, very expensive also, hard liquor. Theral is kind of ordinary liquor, but Narumpidi is hard liquor, and you get a high very, very quick. Very hard liquor. Sometimes Narumpidi is consumed with a bit of sugar or even honey. Sugarcane juice added with
Jaggery
Narumpidi,
also.
make it mild, or maybe jaggery used along with it. Sometimes it is sweetened. People prefer to consume it sweetened, mostly using honey.
Honey also.
Honey was available in plenty those times. So, but the most exotic of all these things is called Munnir. Munnir. Neer is the liquid. Munnir is three kinds of liquids, all gelled together, rolled into one, shaken and consumed using its cocktail. You know, in ordinary parlance, you can call it cocktail. Mixture of coconut extract, palm extract, and sugarcane extract. Filtered and used in a particular way. And that is consumed by women also. Women preferred Munnir, especially ladies from nobility, royal families, aristocratic families, queens, all used Munnir. Very expensive local variety. Only during festive occasions, Munnir is served. On ordinary occasions, they do with Theral or Nirava.
How were these kinds of liquors available in those days? Any monopoly of a group of people?
Yeah, it's like every other commodity. This is also a commodity which is traded. And the trading persons in liquor, people who were specializing in the trade of liquor items, especially local liquor items, were called chantor.
Abkari?
Abkari, I think it's an Arabic word which was incorporated into Malayalam. Abkari is equivalent of Abkari. Abkari is a big time trader. The big time chantors, local chantors may be dealing in Theral only, and there are chantors dealing in multiple liquor items, but it's chantor. See, amazingly, you know, it's not just chantor, every tradable item, wheat and rice and corn.
What about this malt? What is it?
Malt is extract. Malt is not available here. Malt used to be coming from outside. It doesn't come in the form of malt. It comes in the form of liquor. The brandies all come from outside. That is malt extract. And the chantor, it's not only chantor. All traders were known or were specializing in unique items. Kulei Vanikan specialized in wheat and corn and all grains, food grains, Kulei Vanigan. Aruvai Vanigan specialized in clothing. Aruvai is cloth. Olei Vanigan. Then Ola is the coconut products, Olei Vanigan. And all these things, you know, there. And Panitha Vanigan. Panitha means sweet products, sugar, jaggery, and everything. Sugarcane products traded by Panitha Vanigan. Vanik means trader. Panitha Vanigan. And this Kalla Vanigan, that is the liquor Vanigan, is called chantor. Yeah.
So you mean only for a jovial or jubilant occasion the ancient people used liquor?
We are made to believe that they were responsible. They were using, they were consuming liquor in a very responsible manner, always. One cannot be very sure whether we in this generation, in modern times, use it in a responsible manner, but those days, people knew how to behave. Like what I said earlier, the drunken, unruly behavior was so foreign and not known those days. They were all performing their roles, and say dancers, Viralis and Kuthers, where they would be dancing. After consuming liquor, they would feel very easy, the steps become very rhythmic, and they feel a bit high, and they dance to glory. So natural. That does not mean that others also need that quantity of liquor. And they would be consuming based on how much is required, and also it is the diet specific also. Foreigners may need it to wash down meat and fish with a bit of liquor.
So vegetarians do not need that.
Vegetarians may not need. Here, especially in the post-Sankham period, it was marked by vegetarianism. Vegetarian diet may not require that high quantity of liquor to wash down the other food items. Therefore, today we may not be using the intoxicating drinks the way it has to be consumed. But our forefathers knew better, I would tend to believe. That's the inference I get.
This is the consumption of liquor is nowadays an excuse for beginning a quarrel or using bad words. And I heard about Dutch courage. It is
Dutch courage.
Dutch courage. Additional courage they are getting.
Yeah.
Only temporary courage.
We use it. We now use the term fellowship.
Fellowship. That is
fellowship.
In parties. Club life. The meeting is urgent for
fellowship.
Dinner and fellowship.
Dinner and fellowship. So fellowship is a very innocuous word originally. Now it has a suggestion that the eatable is followed by the drinkable. Okay. So that is the big. But
so originally fellowship means friendship and
Sankham period fellowship was such a holy thing. King and subjects and traders and foreigners all become one. Over
no discrimination.
For no discrimination. Amphora full of liquor. Everybody could consume as much as they want because wealth was flowing into Malabar, Malankara, Kerala. And that wealth was celebrated. Not all days, on specific occasions, it is celebrated. Yes, that is why we dealt with Undata, we dealt with Kondatam, we dealt with marriage things, and also during the Yeruthaludal and Manchu Viratal, equivalent of Jellikat. Those were sportive festivals coinciding with harvest. After the harvest, people are flush with funds. They spent a lot of funds on money earned by that wealth generated from their produce. They use it on liquor. They celebrate. So parties, drunken parties, were very much synonymous with these Manchu Viratal, Yeruthaludal, popularly today known as Jellikat.
Okay. Then now we have got a picture of the liquor consumption of the previous era, and I would like to ask one thing. How this happened to be a violent activity after drinking? Nowadays,
changes happen in the brain structure, the level of say if you have inferiority complex or lack of confidence, some believe that it is a confidence booster. It is a belief, it is a feel that somebody feels that it is a confidence booster, they have it. That is then and now it would be same. But finding a reason to celebrate over a glass of intoxicating drink is something which is a current thing. There it used to be reasons were there. They celebrate. But here just to drink you find a reason. So that culture is a modern culture.
One more doubt I have. Some people use liquor on sad occasions also nowadays. What is the
that's psychology. You forget your worries and sorrow over intoxicating drinks. That will help people worry. Karl Marx once famously said, consumption of opium, that is make you forget about your worries. See, then he calls religion the opium of man. So consumption of either religious beliefs or political beliefs or even physical substance abuse like intoxicating drunk help you forget worries. So it is
Only for the time being.
only for the time being, but worries are always worries and the facts are always
Basically,
facts. They remain same.
Remains the same thing.
They remain same.
So, this episode we can wind up, and the next episode will be dealing with the utensils of the cultural aspect is utensils we used.
Sure. So thank you very much.
Thank you.